Sorry about that. We ran a little long today. I'm sure you could expect. So, yeah, it's a few more people in here than normal too, which you expected. Look, obviously it's a big game. 1 versus 2, first time ever in SEC basketball history. A lot of tradition in the SEC, so you know we're fortunate to be involved in the first ever 1 versus 2 matchup. We're fortunate it's on our own court. It's great to have college game day here. You know, we've gotten our program to a level that back-to-back years game days come in to do a game here. So proud of our guys, proud of the staff that's assembled this roster. You know, our guys deserve to be on a national spotlight with the way they played, but if we're gonna focus on all that stuff, it's gonna be a big distraction from what we gotta do to win the game. So thought we had a good practice yesterday, today. You know, our guys got their legs up under them on Wednesday. We gave them Wednesday off after that late game in Texas. And I think we've had 2 good practices. Darion's finally been able to do some live stuff in practice. He was able to do some live stuff today. We'll see how he looks tomorrow morning and shoot around, and he'll end up being a game time decision. But he looks a lot better than he has at any point in the last month or so. So that'd be good if we could get him back. Look, there's not a whole lot I'm going to say that you guys don't know on this matchup. I mean, Auburn's our rival. They're number 1. They've been number 1 team in the country for a long time this year. They're very good. 6 out of the last 8 championships in the SEC have been either Alabama or Auburn between regular season and tournament. So it's a lot more than just bragging rights in the state of Alabama riding on this game here tomorrow. So, and our guys have the appropriate energy, focus, and I think they'll be ready for this game.
Charlie?
Yeah, Coach, just with Aiden, obviously this is a big game for him. How have you just seen him approach this week and kind of handle it from a mindset standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously he's familiar with their system, their team. He had some really good games here. He's a year older here. You know, he's gotten comfortable in our system. He's playing well in it. It'll be a good, you know, be a big game for him, but he's pretty relaxed, doesn't turn the ball over much. I don't anticipate him doing anything crazy, but he'll be ready to play. He's been ready to play most of our games all year.
Jack?
Yeah, Nate, you obviously kind of try and prep for and scout with the same amount of detail for every team, but have you noticed just a little bit of a different energy this week, and you know, how do you kind of try and manage that, keep players even keel, but also, you know, knowing there's a big game, you know, kind of embracing that and letting run with it?
Yeah, I mean, we made the point before the Texas game talking about, you know, you get ready for big games knowing that there's a big game looming out on the weekend by prepping every game like it's a big game. So we've tried to make that point all along. Like, we do what we do. We give you the same edits. It's not like we got 10 more edits ready for Auburn. And no, we give you our day 1 edit, our personnel edit, our day 2 edit, how we score against them. We're giving them the same edits. Our players know there's a lot more riding on the line as far as national exposure and all that stuff. That's out there. It's not like these guys don't have phones and aren't on social media. They get it. But I think that we also got to understand a win is a win in conference. So a win versus Texas is 1 win. A win versus Auburn's a win. And right now we're just fighting for wins. We're tied with Auburn at the top. This game's a little bigger because a win would mean a win for us and a loss for them. So, you know, it'd give us a little separation, at least a 1 game separation. But, you know, if you win this game and lose the next one, you know, what's the point of winning this one? So we've got to be super locked in to every game. And I think making that point to these guys, you know, it's not like all of a sudden, oh, it's Auburn, we got to go through and get everybody nervous. We played in big games around here a lot since I've been here. I think somebody told me we've got 25 wins against ranked opponents since we've got here. It's a pretty fair amount. I think that ties what they were able to do under Wimp. You know, I mean, we've my first year here when we were 1 game over 500. We beat Auburn here when they were the 4th ranked team in the country, if I remember correctly. So, we prepare our guys well to play big games. I don't think overdoing it, getting them extra stressed out helps prepare them to win. We put the scout report in, we get locked down, we execute the scout report, we get a win.
Okay.
Yeah, you just hit on it with your first Auburn game here. They were top 5 undefeated, so obviously they were kind of in a good spot. Just overall, how much have you seen college basketball grow in the state in this rivalry since you've been here?
Yeah, obviously we were not ranked that first year. Started out the year losing a bye game, game 1. Didn't really have the roster to run the system we wanted to run, put it in anyways. Finished one game over 500, but that win against Auburn our first year kind of gave us some life. System can work, will work. We can prepare for big games. We will win big games here. Won a lot of big games since then. We've beat #1 teams. I'm not sure how many times since we've been here, but it's not the first time we played a #1 ranked team. I think we beat 2 of them before Christmas a couple years ago. So the first game that we were able to beat them here was big, just to get the program off and running, even though that year wasn't a great year for us. And every game since has been a big game, even if it's the first time ever in the SEC 1 versus 2. They've all been big games because Auburn was coming off a Final Four before we arrived here. You know, we were just hoping to get into an NCAA tournament, and then lucky for us, there wasn't one, because I don't know that we would have got in that first one. So we can still say that we've never missed an NCAA tournament since I've been here, because we've been in every NCAA tournament that's been held. So, you know, the first year got us going a little bit. Second year we won the regular season SEC tournament, and we've been a little up and down since, but more up than down, and Auburn's been very good. Like I said, they were in a Final Four before we got here, and they're #1 team in the country now, and they've won both a regular season and a tournament championship since then. So they've been in the national rankings. We've been the #1 overall seed. We've made a Final Four. We've won 4 SEC tournament championships, 2 regular season, 2 tournaments. There's been more championships won. The last 2 Final Fours in the SEC have been Auburn and Alabama, and this year we're 1 and 2. So the Iron Bowl basketball, if you will, I don't know if that's appropriate to call it that, the in-state rivalry in the state of Alabama, whatever you want to call it, has been increasingly become a national level game, and it's all the way at the top now to where it's 1 versus 2.
Blake.
In your experience in coaching games against Auburn, just how much more intense are they compared to normal games against other teams?
I mean, there's rivalries no matter where you go. I played Division III at Maranatha, Baptist College in Watertown, and Lutheran College in Watertown, Northwestern. There was a big rivalry in the 2 small D3 schools. Those little gyms got packed, and I was a high school coach, you know, in Romulus and our neighboring city, Belleville, big rivalry game. Those, you know, we were able to beat them my first year. Everybody gets going. They also beat us. Actually, they beat us more than we beat them for a while. Then you get to Buffalo, you got some rival games, and now you're here. This rivalry's a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a national stage than Romulus Belleville was back in the day. But there's an intensity that comes with rivalry games. I know our fan base would much rather beat Auburn than anybody else in the SEC, as would I. So, but you still have to prepare for, look, if we didn't take care of business against Texas, Arkansas, Kentucky, go down the list, we wouldn't be here where it's 1 versus 2, and we wouldn't be playing for first place. So we've done a good job for the most part. The Ole Miss game we weren't very good in, but we've done a good job having these guys ready to play every game. It's a natural inclination to have a little bit more intensity in this game, even though we're trying to play with max effort every game. I get it. We've been in big rivalries everywhere I've been. This is the biggest of the rivalries I've ever been in, though.
Tony.
You're facing a National Player of the Year candidate and one of the best bigs in the nation. You brought in Cliff. Is this the kind of matchup that you bring in a Cliff Omoruyi in for, and something you struggled with, I guess, last year?
Yeah, it's part of it, for sure. We'd like to be able to guard the post one-on-one. I think we've got a guy that brought in thinking he could. We struggled a little bit early in the year with some of it. We've hopefully done a better job teaching him some of that. I mean, like you said, Broom's National Player of the Year candidate, one of the best bigs in college basketball for the last few years running. He's a load. If we have to double him, he can pass well. They got shooting all over the floor. They got 4 guys that are basically 40% or above, which is ridiculous in college. And it's not like they're just catch and shoot guys. Like, these guys can make them off the dribble. So ideally, you don't have to do a lot of doubling. And ideally, Cliff was brought in to enable us to not have to double often. But we've got, option B, C, D in the back pocket if we need to go to it.
Nick.
Yeah, their offense is 7th in turnover percentage, yours is 207. What needs to happen to make sure that that's not a differential or differentiating factor in this game?
That we need Mark Sears and Graham Nelson to stop turning the ball over. That's what needs to happen. Like, we got 2 fifth-year seniors that have played, over 100 basketball games, that know how to take care of the ball, that have not taken care of the ball at the level we need them to. That's basically what needs to happen, because if you look at the turnover rates, between those 2 guys, they're just way too high. Like, we gotta quit trying to make home run plays. We gotta quit overdriving gaps that aren't there. We gotta get the ball out of our hands earlier. We gotta make the appropriate reads, whether it's pick and roll, drive reads, elbow catch reads with Grant. But if those 2 guys could significantly reduce their turnovers, the team turnover rate would come down and it would look a lot more like what we need it to look like. So hopefully they understand the gravity of particularly live ball turnovers against Auburn to kind of ignite their break and get them going, and we just can't afford any of them. And we need those 2 guys as 5th-year senior captains to understand the importance of it and take care of the ball well.
EG.
Coach, you mentioned earlier this week that coaching will play a big role in this and that those adjustments to wrinkles will be key. What have you seen from you and your staff when you guys have prepped for this game and evaluating Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Pearl's done a really good job there. They run their actions. They've got the flex, but they've got counters to them all. They've got their post-ups. They've got counters to where you double, when you double, how you guard it. Are we ready with counters to their counters? Is our defense ready? Do they decide to go small? Do they start? Shady Johnson kind of won the game against Vanderbilt. If we do a great job on their options 1 and 2, do we have answers to their next options? Because they've had multiple guys go for 20 on the year, and it's, you're not going to be the #1 team in the country if you just have 1 good option. It's not like this team is just Broom, Baker Mazzara, Shady Johnson, Pettiford, Kelly. You just keep going down the list. I mean, should I probably have to mention 8 names if I get to all of them? They've got multiple guys that can go get you 20 points. I mean, we've got to do a really good job guarding those and seeing what they're going to. And then our offensive end, what's working, what's not, how are they turning this over, how do we adjust, let's stay out of this action, let's get a lot more of this. Like, they've got a zone, they've got a press, they've got this, they've got a lot of different type defenses that we're gonna have to be ready for.
Okay. Just in general, what makes a Bruce Pearl coach team so dangerous?
I mean, the intensity they play with, he seems like he's always got them ready to go. The actions that they run to get their best players the ball in their strong suits. I mean, Broom gets the ball where he needs to get the ball. Pettiford, they do a really good job. I mean, he's out of timeouts. They run actions to attack different things you're doing. So, I mean, to me, the best thing that makes them go, though, most great coaches, can they motivate their team to play hard and do the little stuff, the details matter, and they do. Their teams play hard, they get on the offensive boards, they're amped up, they're ready, they turn people over. So, we've got to, I say match the intensity. I hope that they've got to match our intensity, but they do a really good job making sure their guys are motivated and ready to go every game.
Chase.
I know Herb Jones was a one of a kind player here, but does Mo Diabate remind you of Herb a little bit just by the way that he can defend guards at 6'7"?
Yeah, when I recruited Mo, you know, I recruited him on the premise that we took a guy that's pretty similar to you and turned him into an NBA starter. And, you know, he got paid. I mean, Herb signed a $55 million contract. So I thought Mo's the closest guy. It helps. They're both lefties. You get to count two, but it's more the fact that they're tough, they're hard-nosed, they can move, they can guard multiple positions. You know, Herb was a little more, he had played point guard in high school. He was a little more smooth running the one. Mo's a little stronger, more physical. You know, can kind of go to work inside maybe a little bit more. But yeah, they've got a lot of similarities. You know, I've been talking to NBA people are well aware of Diabate. You know, he leads our team in plus minus, leads our team in offensive leverage, which would be crazy to think. You know, but our offense is best when he's in the game because he gets to the boards, he gets guys open, he makes good plays in the pocket. He's been very good for us. Herb was also one of those unsung heroes. I go back to the Auburn game when he's coming off his broken wrist, and we were just so much better. Our plus minus was so much higher within the game than the next game against LSU. We just played him like broken wrist or not, instead of trying to get him a minute before timeout on defense, a minute after timeout on defense. Screw it, just play him. So I think Mo's got that same impact on games that Herb had when he was here.
Two more, Ryan.
Coach, I believe yesterday people started lining up in tents outside. We have a news station out there right now, and they said that there's 10 to 15 or 20 tents. What does that mean to have the fans lined up already, ready to go for game day? And what's your message to those guys for tomorrow that you need them against Auburn?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, it's that important to get into the game, get good seats, get into game day when it opens bright and early in the morning to get your seats for game day. My daughter's a student here. She's making sure I can get her into game day before it fills up. I don't think she wants to camp out to make sure she's got her. She thinks her dad's got an in. May or may not. We'll see. But she didn't seem like the camp out type of girl. But I'm glad we do have those that are willing to camp out. Show the. I mean, when I grew up, Shashevskyville was a big thing. Thought it super cool. My kids super into sports. They show that. I still remember those Duke Carolina games. They show the whole lot. Like, how cool is that? So I don't know that we're quite to the level of Shashevskyville out here yet, but it's pretty cool that people are willing to pitch a tent, camp out overnight to make sure they get the best seats in the house for the college game day and the game that's coming up. So, and look, my message to them is thank you for being that great of fans. It helps the program. It helps that we've got people that support it, and we need them to be super loud, super intelligent. We need the cheering to be supporting what we need to do to win the game. Like, can leave the nasty anti-Auburn stuff alone. Like, that's not what we need. We need cheering for big defensive stops, blue collar plays, winning basketball plays. That's what we need cheering for.
Last one, Johnny.
They got a guy on their team, Chad Baker-Mazar, one of those guys if you love him, he's on your team, can't stand him if he's not. As far as not going over the edge or over the line, how do you coach you guys to make sure that they play with emotion but not overly emotional?
Yeah, it's a good question, and like I said, I've been head coach at various levels for a long time, and we've had plenty of those. Go back to my Romulus days, whether it's Detroit Pershing or Belleville, and sometimes you're, you know, maybe some of the games you're favored in, and you know it's going to turn into a fist fight, a wrestling match. We had a brawl at Belleville one time. I threw my shoulder out trying to tackle somebody out of a fight that back then, but hopefully we don't have any of that. You get to Buffalo, you got some wars, Kent State, you know, like all that. Well, my point to all the teams all the time, and it's going to be to these guys as well, is we're not interested in winning a boxing match, a football game, or a wrestling match. Like, nobody wins. It doesn't matter. Like, there's a score on the scoreboard, and the points are scored for a ball going through the rim, and we need to beat them on the scoreboard. all the other stuff, there's no points for a takedown in wrestling, and there's no points for a knockout. That's not what we're doing here. So let them try to win the boxing match, wrestling match. We're gonna win the scoreboard. We walk out of here, winners on the scoreboard, and that's what, so anything that takes away from winning on the scoreboard is losing basketball. So retaliating to something dumb is losing basketball. Let the refs catch them doing it. You know, and I mean, Baker Mazar's a very good player, makes tough shots, can make big time electric plays, but, you know, they got beat by Yale in the first round without him, because he got tossed early in the game. Like, you know, whether they agree that he should have been or not, you know, I don't really have an opinion on all that. The point is, he wasn't in the game to play with his team when they needed him against Yale. So you know, we had an incident with Modi grabbing an ankle, or like that stuff's unnecessary, unneeded. I made that point extremely clear to Mo. You know, we don't need that. Like, Mo, you're tough enough. You make tough offensive rebounding plays, tough defensive plays. Those are the tough plays we need, not the extracurricular dumb stuff. If you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that Bruce is an unbelievable coach. I'm sure he's had his talks with Chad, and I'm sure Chad has been a lot better this year because they need him on the floor. So, you know, yeah, maybe he's into it and all that, but we're just going to try to win the basketball game. We're not going to try to win anything else tomorrow.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everyone.